We have new episodes dropping every other week. You can find them early on Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Music, or wherever you find your podcasts, or find the link below for our Megaphone landing page, and we will see you around the campfire.
Hey, I'm Jess,
And I'm Paul.
and welcome to Campfire Ashes. Now gather round, pull up a log, and let me tell you a campfire story. I knew this was a bad idea. Casey trudged through the muddy maze of corn, pushing stalks aside as the sun set on the horizon ahead. I never should have let them talk me into playing this stupid game. You all right back there, Case? Ethan asked, pushing away the corn stalks and trying to clear them a path. I can't find any service out here. She held her phone up as high as she could. How are we supposed to tell them where to find us? She squinted up at the phone, showing the SOS in the upper right corner where the service bars should be. There's got to be a tower down or something. We've never had a problem getting service out here before. Ethan, you and Isaac haven't come out here in over a decade. How do you know they didn't take the tower down completely? Ethan scoffed. Case. They wouldn't have picked this spot as the drop-off if they knew we wouldn't be able to communicate with the rest of the team. He shook his head and playfully poked Casey on the nose. That's not how the game works. Casey laughed. Okay, so then how is it supposed to work? She crossed her arms and gave her best disapproving parent look. Ethan sighed and rubbed the back of his neck. Well, the game is called hostage. We drew the short straws, so we're the hostages. Hence why we were blindfolded, driven out here to the old family farmhouse, and left behind in the cornfield while Britt and Emily drove off laughing. So now our team has to come find us and bring us back to base camp before the other team finds their hostages and brings them back. Only we're supposed to be able to give clues to our team, right? Casey shifted her weight onto her hip. How do we get out of here otherwise? Ethan shrugged his shoulders. Okay, so we probably aren't winning this one. But Isaac and Natasha are supposed to get a clue as to where we were left, so they know generally where they should be headed. Isaac's gotta know we're out here. There's nothing else out this way. I'm sure they'll be here in no time. Don't worry, okay? He reached his hand out to her. She took his hand and let him pull her in for a hug. It's a little hard not to when the corn is so tall I doubt they'll be able to see us out here in it. Casey pulled away and brought her phone back out. So we should probably try to find the road or the ranch entrance, don't you think? Ethan nodded. Yeah, I'm surprised the corn has grown this much since my uncle sold this place. Judging by the farmhouse, though, it doesn't look like anyone's been living here. Weird. You'd think it would have died without proper care, right? Casey and Ethan trekked through the corn until the sun was almost gone. They'd just about given up hope when a clearing opened up. Aw, man, I know where we are, Ethan said, hope returning to his body. This is the stand where we used to keep Sir Straw Hat. He ran ahead. Who? Casey called after him. He was our scarecrow. Isaac and I named him. My uncle put a straw hat on him because we used to be afraid of him, and the hat made him less scary somehow. Wow, Casey said, slow clapping and trying to conceal her laughter. Really creative name. She gave him a thumbs up. We were like 6, okay? Ethan stuck his tongue out at her. He turned back to the empty wooden post. I wonder whatever happened to him. Well, hey, do you think his stand is sturdy enough for me to stand on and try to get some service? Good idea. Come here, Ethan said and hoisted Casey up onto the scarecrow's stand. She held her phone up as high as she could and managed to get a single bar of service. She quickly sent a pin of her location to the group chat with Natasha and Isaac. It worked! I sent our location to the chat. Phew, Ethan said, very exaggerated. For a second there, I was really beginning to think we were goners. That's so not funny, Casey said, glaring at him. Now please help me get down. Sure thing. Ethan held his arms out to grab Casey's waist, but she stopped him. What's up? I'm not sure. Casey looked closer at the wooden post she was standing on. It looks like blood? Next to Casey's hand, there was a dried splatter of red-brown. She inspected further. Blood? Are you okay? I'm okay, it's not mine. It looks like it's been here a while. Casey traced the dried-up trail with her fingers. At the top of the dried blood trail was a rusty nail, precisely where the hand of the scarecrow would have been hung. Ethan, this might sound crazy, but it almost looks like the blood came from the nail hole. Like someone's hand was nailed to this post. Can you see from down there? No response. Ethan. She looked back down toward him. He was gone. Casey looked around in a frenzy, but she didn't see Ethan anywhere. The only disturbance in the corn appeared to be the hole they made when they came into this clearing. Ethan, if this is a joke, it's not very funny. Casey heard a snap behind her like a stalk of corn had been broken. She whipped her head around and saw some corn rustling. It looked like someone was walking away from her, and the snapping sounds were growing more distant. Where the hell is he going? Judging by the height of the stand to the ground below, Casey was ready to jump down and follow Ethan through the corn. Both to see where he was going and to kick his ass for leaving her suddenly without warning in the middle of an abandoned cornfield. She was about to jump down off the stand when she was startled by a car horn. She lost her footing and fell off, landing in a mud pile. Well, that's just fucking great. Casey got up and tried to wipe herself off. She started in the direction Ethan took off in and only got a few paces in when the snapping sound of the corn grew louder and faster. Too fast for Ethan to be running back for her and now coming from behind her? She turned around and saw a light in the cornfield, bright and blinding and suddenly encompassing all around her. When the light dimmed, Casey blinked her eyes a few times and tried to focus on her surroundings. The scarecrow stand she was just on a moment ago was now mowed down and laying partly through the windshield of a car. Isaac's car. Isaac? The driver's door popped open. Casey, that you? Isaac, bloodied forehead and all, stepped out of the car. Oh, thank fuck we found you, Natasha said, crawling out the passenger side window. Where's Ethan? Are you two all right? What the hell happened? Casey rushed over to Natasha, who was physically unharmed and fine, aside from a few glass shards in her hair. Isaac wiped at his forehead with his sleeve. We got your pin and came out here. Babe, is this bad? He looked to Natasha and showed her the cut in his forehead. He continued after she shook her head. Damn, this hurts. Anyway, we were driving the dirt path calling out for you guys when this guy just appeared in the middle of the road. Isaac honked and swerved into the cornfield, and there was this blinding light. Next thing we know, we crashed into this post. Natasha finished the story. What happened to you? I fell in the mud. Not important. You saw someone in the road? Isaac shrugged. Yeah, that's why I swerved. Was it Ethan? His eyes grew wide. Dude, don't tell me I almost hit my brother. And why were you two separated anyway? That's dangerous. It couldn't have been him, Casey said, cutting him off. He was just right here with me. No way he could have gotten out there that fast. So where is he? Natasha asked. That's just it. I was standing up on that post to get the signal to send you our location, Casey paced. Ethan was right below me, about to help me down, when I noticed blood on the post, and I asked him if he could see it from down there, and he was just gone. I never heard him move. Bullshit, Isaac prodded. It's muddy as hell in here. No way you didn't hear him. I'm telling you, I didn't hear him leave. He was just gone, and then I saw the corn moving over there, Casey said, pointing in the direction she was referring to. So somehow he slipped away unnoticed and then took off that way. He wouldn't leave you like this, Natasha said. That's not like him at all. Shit, are you thinking what I'm thinking? Isaac scanned their faces. I don't think this place is abandoned. And that's where I'm going to leave you for part 1, because this is a 2-parter.
Pew, 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 pew.
So, not to throw you for a loop there, I don't like to leave things, hanging and open-ended, but as of this episode airing, we are 1 day away from hitting the 1-year anniversary of the Campfire Ashes podcast.
We've been doing this for a year already.
Which just feels insane.
Yeah.
I can't believe it. I can't believe that it's already been a year of doing this. It feels like we took so long to finally figure out our niche and what we wanted to do when we decided we wanted to do a podcast. And then we just hit the ground running, and here we are.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's just yesterday that we recorded that first episode.
Yeah, and then 29 stories later, here we are.
Crazy.
We've written 29 stories.
That's insane.
Well, 28. We had Shan was a guest on one of them. We've written 28 stories, like original stories. That's a lot.
Collectively on this show, 29 stories have been written.
That's a lot.
Crazy. And yet in the grand scheme of things, we have so much more to tell you guys.
Oh yeah, we haven't even scratched the surface. There's whole countries, whole like sections of like
Worlds.
lore
We haven't
and
even.
worlds and things. We haven't touched mermaids or Bigfoot or Mothman or anything like really big.
We can go on forever, so you're not getting rid of us.
Yeah, no. Like there's just and like we've touched like new stuff. Like the Loab has come out and that's new. And like Chupacabra is something that's happened in my lifetime and not deer. Like those are all like relatively new stuff too. So like we have
Seriously.
stuff that's going back centuries. We have stuff that's brand new, and yeah, it's been fun. So what is this, and why am I scared of scarecrows now?
Okay, so like I said, this is a two-part story. So next episode, I will give you the conclusion to the story, which is so hard to cut this into two parts because like I just want to tell you everything. But but I thought it would be fun to celebrate a year with a two-parter and a longer story. So yeah, as you picked out, the theme here that I mentioned was scarecrows. So I thought I'd give you a little bit of lore on scarecrows because I don't know if you knew this because I definitely didn't know this when I decided to start writing about scarecrows. There's a lot of scarecrow lore. I don't know if you've ever looked into the history of scarecrows, but like everywhere in the world, basically every civilization has had their own version of a scarecrow.
Yeah, no, I just see. Here's the thing. Like I assume it's just like when you think scarecrows, you just assume it's like something to scare crows away. It's literally just a thing that like moves and all this kind of stuff to
Is how it
do it.
started.
However, like there has to be some kind of lore and legend to it because like basically they're basically effigies like hanging in a field somewhere. So there's has to be supernatural or nefarious things that could go along with this. So yeah.
So my, brief understanding of scarecrows prior to researching and writing the story was that it was, like a European thing that just made its way here. But no, like, well, yes, but no, like it's not just that. So the scarecrow that you picture and you think of when I say a scarecrow is more of like the European, like New World's like depiction of a scarecrow. But the first like accounts of scarecrows go all the way back like 3,000 years ago to the ancient Egyptians. They hung tunics on reeds to scare quail away from crops along the Nile. This translated over into ancient Greece, where they. Oh my god, wait, you're not ready for this. You're not ready for this because I was not ready for this. So, ancient Greeks, their version of the scarecrow, they created wooden statues of Priapus. Do you know who Priapus is?
I believe.
Priapus is the son of Aphrodite.
Uh-huh.
So, Aphrodite, like goddess of beauty and fertility and all the things that she is, and,
Mm-hmm.
is often depicted as this beautiful woman. Priapus is believed to be so ugly. I don't mean to laugh. I just find it so funny.
So ugly.
Okay,
How
so
ugly was he?
okay, so hold on. I'm trying to find the exact. I want to read you exactly what it was said about him because I just think it's hilarious. This is a quote from one of the links in our show notes. It says, although he was the son of Aphrodite, Priapus was also hideously ugly, and his most prominent feature was his constant and huge erection. So this man, this man is most often depicted as ugly face, huge erect dick all the time.
So that's actually a thing. It's proprietus. I can't remember how to pronounce
Look
it.
at the
So that's actually a medical condition, or it's named after a medical condition.
really.
Yes.
The
So
medical condition is named after him.
yes. Whenever you watched Viagra commercials or Cialis commercials, at the end they will talk about if you have an erection for more than 4 hours, you need to see a doctor. because that is a
That's not okay.
condition called proprietism. It's I'm close to it. Proprietism, where basically like you're stuck with a painful and nearly impossible to get down erection, and they have to
That
use
sucks.
needles to literally
No,
remove the
I'm out.
blood.
I'm out. I'm out.
Yeah.
I wish none of that on anyone.
Yeah.
But so yeah, here you go. Here's the dude
So when you
in
said that,
Greek
I was just like,
mythology.
no, it can't be that.
No, it is. So here's the dude in Greek mythos that gave that condition its name. So the ancient Greeks were
Priapism.
like,
That's what it is. I had to look it up.
okay,
Priapism.
okay. Well, there's where it gets its name.
Yes, long-lasting
And
painful erection. It can cause permanent damage to your penis if not treated quickly.
yikes.
Yeah.
So somehow conversations about scarecrows led to that. And basically the ancient Greeks were like, hey, well, whenever Priapus is out in the fields, the birds are like, nope, I want nothing to do with that. That's awkward. I'm out. So they started making wooden statues of him in the fields. And then the Romans were like, hey, that's not a bad idea. That seems to work for them. So we're going to do that.
Wow.
And then in pre-feudal Japan, they had a couple different kinds of scarecrows in the rice fields, but there was a very popular one called the Kakashi, which was made of old dirty rags and noisemakers like bells and sticks that they mounted on a pole in a field, and then they lit it on fire. So the
That can't
point
be
of lighting it
why.
on
That
fire.
can't be why Kakashi from Naruto breathes fire and has bells.
No, absolutely not. I don't know why that would be a thing.
Oh my God! Is that why he's?
Well, so here's the thing. Admittedly, I haven't really watched Naruto. Like a couple episodes, maybe at that. I never really thought about it. I didn't even make that connection when I was reading this,
But you know who Kakashi is.
but I do, and that
Okay,
makes sense.
it does make
That makes
sense
sense.
that he breathe well, he's a copy ninja, but he breathes fire and he has bells
Well, there you go.
and he has rags on his face. Oh my God, that
There you
makes
go.
so much sense.
So that came from pre-feudal Japan scarecrows. They're
Oh
everywhere.
wow.
They're everywhere. Scarecrow lore is like interwoven with everything. So they did this because they thought, hey, by lighting this on fire, it'll keep birds away. And I'm assuming because there were old dirty rags, other than just the fact that it was fire, it probably smelled pretty bad. So much so that supposedly, I didn't look this up and fact check this, but supposedly Kakashi at that time in pre-feudal Japan meant something stinky.
Okay.
So that's where it got its name. I don't know. I don't know if that's still true now. I don't know if that has changed, but that's supposedly where the name came from. And then eventually that fell out of popularity, and Japanese farmers started making scarecrows that look more like people, like you would think, with hats and coats and all that stuff. And some of them even equipped them with weaponry to make them look more frightening. And then we moved into the Middle Ages in Britain and Europe. And during that time, they were like, hey, child labor sounds great. So they would employ children. Employ meaning get children to do this without pay.
Yeah, employ quotation marks.
Yes. To take a couple blocks of wood and just run around the fields and clap them together all day. To scare the birds. And they're like, yeah, this is great. Love this. Love doing this to kids. And then plague. Then the plagues happened. And farmers were like, not a lot of spare children running around.
Now we need to automate this.
Exactly. They're like, there aren't a lot of spare children to go around. So that's when they stuffed old clothes with the straw and put like pumpkins or turnips or gourds on their head, for the head piece, and propped them up in the fields. But at that time, while that was happening, Scarecrows were also found in Native American culture. Native tribes, some of them, not all, they started out, according to this source, in some parts of what's now Virginia and the Carolinas. Native American men would just sit on raised platforms and shout at the birds or animals to keep them away from the crops. They would just straight up yell at them. And then other tribes discovered that if you soaked corn, like the seeds of corn, in a poisonous herb mixture, it would deter birds. But then they were like, but now we can't eat it. So that's not a good idea.
Yeah, there's not a lot of forethought in that.
Exactly. And then some tribes in the Southwest, Native American children would have contests to see who could make the most frightening scarecrow, usually of cedar poles strung with cords and animal skins to keep birds away. But scarecrows also, like the ones that we know or most commonly think of, arrived in North America by way of, immigrants coming in from Europe, such as the German settlers that settled here in Pennsylvania and brought with them the Bootsamon, or the boogeyman, that would stand over the fields, which just is what you'd think of as a scarecrow. That's just what their name was for it.
So Jeepers Creepers. Got it.
Well, yeah, I mean, where do you think that came from?
Scarecrow lore, apparently.
I told you, scarecrow lore is in, like, everything. I mean, whole ass Batman villain. My favorite Batman villain.
Yeah. Edward Crane is a good one.
Yeah. Especially when they got Cillian Murphy to play him. Anyway. So then in the heyday of the American agricultural period, we had, scarecrows as we think of them, straw hat, burlap sack head or pumpkin head, full of hay, old shirts, old clothes, all that. But then after World War II, that's when farmers were like, hey, what if we just spray the crops with DDT? What if we just do that? And then, 15, 20 years later in the 60s, when scientists and people were like, hey, pesticides are actually terrible and we shouldn't do that.
It's like, hey, remember when the Native Americans did that like 200 years ago, and they were just like, hey,
It
that's
was like,
probably
just not
poison.
working.
We should take a page. And
Probably listen to them.
yeah,
We steal everything else from them. Maybe we should steal this idea too.
yeah. Let's not put poison all over the place.
Assholes. Anyway. Yeah, now most of the time you see scarecrows as a decoration in the fall. You don't really see a lot of scarecrows actually being used for the use that they were intended, except in more like rural countries. Might still use them. Now it's mostly like a fall decoration or Halloween costume or, in popular culture. But in magic practices, there are ways to put a scarecrow in your garden and have it protect your crops and also like your home, your land. The thought is you would display one on your front porch or like the edge of your property, and you could put a little protective stone in it like hematite or stuff it with protective herbs like violet, thistle, honeysuckle, or fennel. And it's supposed to protect your homestead and enrich your land if you wanted to grow things.
Like a golem.
Kind of.
Interesting.
Sounds like it. So yeah. Scarecrows have been around forever and in everything. It's pretty much like you thought. They're meant to scarecrows. Like that's for the name, the name pretty much tells you all. As far as it coming into horror symbolism, there's the thought that they come to life at night and scare people. And I mean, you've seen that everywhere. Like I remember one of the first times, I can't say for sure this is the first time that I ever saw a scarecrow as far as like being scary was, do you remember the Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark books?
Yes.
I was obsessed with those as a kid. Still am. I have the collection. Like I got a box set of them. Still am. There was a scarecrow story in there. And that was the first story that I read in those. Because, like, they're scary, arguably, but some of them I was just like, oh, like, haha, like, that's, it's clearly not real. Like, that's definitely not a real thing. The
Mm.
Scarecrow one? Nope. Nope. I had
Scare
nightmares.
Scarecrow was like, nope, that one's too close to reality. Don't like it. Not a
I was
fan.
like, that could be real. I don't like that. Was very much afraid of that. There was a whole plot line in Courage the Cowardly Dog, one of my favorite shows to this day, that dealt with the Scarecrow, but that one wasn't so much so evil. That one actually was a very heartwarming story. It's about a scarecrow that wasn't scary. And he was told, like, that's what you do. You're supposed to scarecrows. You're supposed to be scary. And Courage just helps him learn to be himself and that it's okay that he's not scary.
That's adorable.
I'll have to find you the episode now. It's truly Courage the Cowardly Dog. I don't know how much you've seen of it or if you've ever seen it, but it's
I've seen
one of my favorite series.
Episode here or there. It's not something I really like consumed.
It is one of my favorite series in existence. Like, to this day, it's in my top 10 at least. It has a lot of good lessons in it that I think, obviously as a child went over my head. But now, like, going back and viewing it from the lens of an adult, I'm like, I should have paid more attention to that. Tugs right at my heartstrings. And then you've mentioned a couple others, like, well, I mentioned Scarecrow and Batman. You mentioned the creature from Jeepers Creepers. Definitely has, like, a Scarecrow lore to it. Scarecrows appeared in Supernatural, also one of my favorite episodes. They're everywhere.
So, is there any lore that's nefarious?
Let me look because I have a lot of tabs open.
Is there anything like, was just like these scarecrows can come to life and murder you, or is it all just like?
Don't know where the basis of that came from. Like, I don't know how that became a common myth with scarecrows that they come alive at night and kill you. I don't exactly know where that started.
Or is that just like a dude in the 80s was just like, hey, this is creepy, so we're gonna make that be the thing that kills you? Kind of like when it's like, hey, snowmen, they can murder you too.
There's an episode of Courage the Cowardly Dog about a murderous sentient snowman. You should really watch that show. There's a whole village in Japan that's a scarecrow village, and they look kind of real. They look more like life-size dolls.
No, that
Yeah,
no,
yeah. It's
no.
that's a thing.
One of the things I do like about scarecrows is, for the most part, they don't set off my uncanny valley response. Like for
Most of them don't have real heads. Like, there's like the whole like headless horseman scarecrow vibe with the pumpkin or like a gourd or something, and then a lot of them just have like the burlap sack and button eyes, and
yeah, like those
like
don't.
look cute up close, but like they just out in a field, it's a humanoid shape.
Yeah, like I said, they don't really set off that in me, but like they feel eerie. Like when you're around them, they feel like old worldish and like, I don't want to say menacing, but like kind of menacing. Where it's just like
It's more menacing than a scarecrow, but also in the same realm of like it feels old worldish. Amish dolls. Have you ever seen an Amish doll?
No, I need to look it up right now.
You don't have to. I could just explain it to you.
Okay.
Amish
No,
dolls
no, no, no,
do not
no,
have faces.
no, no,
Amish
no,
dolls do not have faces because that is seen as vain.
no. Absolutely not. Not a
They
fan.
scare me more than scarecrows.
Not a fan at all.
Right?
I don't like
Right?
it. I don't like it at all. No. No,
Terrifying.
no, 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 no.
Yeah. That's why I said I would just tell you. You didn't have to go looking, but you did it.
Yeah, I know. Google's just too easy. We do this at a computer, so it's just too easy to be like, hey, let me just open up another tab and see what this is. And it's like, no, I shouldn't have done that because now I'm traumatized.
Yeah, well, I tried to warn you.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I'm having trouble finding like a distinct like, and this is when scarecrows became scary to humans. I think it was just one of those like maybe peoples of the past did get that uncanny valley response and didn't know what to call it, so they used that to their advantage to scare kids and be like, hey, that thing comes to life at night, don't go wandering out in the fields. And in the Supernatural episode, it was a pagan god. It had to do with that. So like I don't, could have been a pagan thing. I'm not sure. I don't have the exact answer to that.
When I Google evil scarecrow, the only thing I get is a metal band named Evil Scarecrow.
Oh, that's awesome.
Like literally the whole first page of Google is Evil Scarecrow, the band.
Enter. Yeah. Hold on, I might be onto something. As far as, what makes them part of
Maybe it's
horror
just because like
mythology.
maybe it's because I played League of Legends a lot. Fiddlesticks was not a fun scarecrow.
Jeez.
I don't know. Like it's just like I for some reason in my head there feels like it just feels like there could be like something like nefarious to them, and it just doesn't feel like it. But
Yeah.
like I think it's just uncanny valley. I think it's just your brain is like no, that looks a little maybe it's a religious thing because it is kind of like a Christ-like pose and it's creepier.
And, pagans and pagan rituals and people not liking pagans.
I think it's what it is. I think it's like leftover Catholicism and Catholic in Christian religions and all that kind of stuff where it's just like no, this doesn't feel right.
It's
When
also like,
it's probably completely benign, but like
well,
your brain matrix that your brain just turns it into something
matrixes.
else. Yeah, my brain.
Well, it's kind of like, okay, so if you take it the pagan route and you go, for example, like Celtic paganism,
Mm-hmm.
and scarecrow like mythos lends itself to like the Wicker Man.
Okay.
So maybe that, you know, there's that horror film in the 70s about the Wicker Man. Maybe like people just kind of took that and ran with it, and the Sleepy Hollow legend,
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of people were making scarecrows with gourds and pumpkins. So all it took was like people to draw that similarity to the Headless Horseman, and people are like, "Hey, like this is terrifying."
Mm. Maybe that's it.
So
Maybe I just have too
yeah,
much Ichabod Cranes rolling around in my head.
that and Wicker Man, Burning Man.
Maybe that's it.
Plus, like the whole biblical tie to like stringing a man up on a post in the form, and they
Yeah.
the yeah, kind of like Jesus on the cross. I don't know.
I mean
It,
that all
that's
fits.
but that's the thing. Like I have always been in a gray area of should I be afraid of scarecrows or not for as long
I
as I can
I
remember,
think that's
and I can't.
how I am too. It's just like I don't know if this is creepy or not. It feels kind of creepy, or maybe I should be scared of it, and maybe I'm not. I don't
I
know.
know we're not the only people that feel that way, but I can't exactly place where in history someone decided that scarecrows are evil or can be.
Hmm.
So there you have it. That's up to your discretion if you should be afraid of them or not.
Yeah.
Scarecrows have been around forever. They're in a lot of things, and
If you find a reason and everything like that, tell us in our Facebook. We have a Facebook fan group. So check out Campfire Ashes podcast on Facebook. It's free to join. You can just pop in and just like give us suggestions or just talk to us.
watch us shit post, and have fun.
Yeah. Random shit posts or obviously like hey, new episode coming out. You get little hints and stuff. But
Or, share memes related to the episodes you've been enjoying. I love a good meme.
mm-hmm. Okay, so I'm curious how this is going to tie into your next episode.
This straight up was, oh, I like both of these things, and I don't know which one I want to be the thing,
So
because it
you're gonna
seems silly to talk about both things in one episode, because it feels like, I could have used that in another episode, so I split it up into two parts so that I could use the second part to talk about the other thing, which has much less lore than the first part, but it also has more of the thrill of the story
mm-hmm.
because it's the conclusion. So I think I spaced it out pretty well.
I mean, it's pretty good. It's interesting that like every culture seems to have a scarecrow lore.
Yeah.
Like from the Americas, you just assume it's very European, in its setting, and then
I did.
you're finding other, like literally every other culture has something like it.
Yeah, the Greeks were like, here's a wooden statue of a dude in a toga with his dick out, like,
That he can't put away.
and then somehow we got here.
Well, yeah, that's a weird way to end it, but okay. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for a year. Like, I appreciate it. Like, we still have a 2-parter to go, so like the next episode we're gonna thank you again, because we appreciate everybody who's come, who has found us. We're in like 12 different countries. Like,
It's insane. And we couldn't have done that without you guys being here and listening
mm-hmm.
and enjoying and telling people about us.
And rating the show on Spotify and Amazon and
Oh,
and Apple. Like, that stuff helps. Like,
wherever you listen.
you have no idea how much that helps us. We appreciate everything. But yeah, we're gonna stop it. We're gonna stop it here, and then we're gonna go on to the next episode, and we'll see you in 2 weeks
for the thrilling conclusion of my story, and for me to tell you more about things from my childhood that I think you should all watch. And remember, last one out douses the fire. If you heard something, no, you didn't. And if you're here with us next time, that means you made it to morning.